Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk about the Galactic Center, some of the some of the tallies from and like the percentages from people in the study that have been a part of the study so far. The people that have come in this past week, I have not included you in this, but you'll be included in the next one. So anybody that sent their information in this week will not be in this. Don't think of yourself as in these tallies yet. But I want to start out with everything I'm about to say. I do feel like I have a pretty good handle, a pretty decent good handle on how the GC functions in a natal chart. I really do feel like I do at this point, but I would not call myself an expert because I would rarely call myself an expert about anything. Don't take anything I'm about to say as absolute truth or gospel. The only things that I know are correct is the math, because I know my math is right. But otherwise, it's just kind of, I'm just tossing some ideas out there, some things, and also have a question for you all. First, to start out, I'm going to ask this question. There is something on astro.com that you can pull. It's under the fixed stars, like where you would find the GC to pull the GC. And it's called GCRS00. Now, when you pull this, it appears to me that it is opposite the supergalactic center. I can find fuck all about this online, this GCRS00. I can't find anything about it. I don't know what it represents. Like, obviously it represents something because you're able to pull it, but I can't find anything about what this represents. So if anybody happens to know on astro.com what GCRS00 represents, please let me know. If you've got like a document that I can take a look at, or anything about that, I would appreciate it, because I'm trying to, to me, it seems like it's something like the anti-center, like the Galactic Center's Galactic Anti-Center, just on a super galactic center level. It seems like it probably is, but I can't find anything about that. I can't find anything about the super galactic center having an anti-center, like how it's scientifically known we have an anti-center to our galactic center. We do, but I can't find anything about the super galactic center having an anti-center. So I'm not really sure what this thing is. So if anybody has any ideas or knows, I would really, really appreciate shooting me whatever you have that might talk about that. Just because I'm like, that's really interesting. Yeah. So beyond that, I started looking at, different things, that I've looked at before, different tallies, such as, like the out of bounds planets. I'm now coming back with 74% of people have a planet out of bounds. That's been part of the study, part of the research. That's not that much different than what I had before. I don't remember exactly what I had before, but it's not that much different. I also looked at Jupiter and Mercury, just because I'm looking at so many different things now. I kind of compiled them together, because like I mentioned before, obviously I've mentioned several times, I think Jupiter retrograde has a lot to do with the galactic center. Obviously Jupiter does too, since the galactic center is in Sagittarius. I feel like Mercury retrograde might correlate with the galactic anti-center. So here I was for this one, I was looking at Jupiter contacts to the GC, not just Jupiter retrograde people, though I did throw this in there too. But people that just had like Jupiter contacts to the GC, like a trine to the GC, conjunct the GC, opposing the GC, even squaring the GC, though the squares I'm still not totally sure exactly how to work with them yet, because that is where the supergalactic center would be. But I did throw them in here. And then Mercury, I looked at people that had like Mercury retrograde specifically in the chart somewhere, kind of like Jupiter retrograde. I came back at 72%. That's slightly higher than it was last time, but it's still pretty stable around the same area. A new thing that I looked at was contacts to Uranus and Jupiter. Now, when I say that, everybody in this research so far, except for one person does not have, and I didn't include them because they don't have a conjunction. So, but everybody else has a conjunction to the GC in this research so far. There is something conjunct the GC. That was the original boundary, or one of the original parameters of this research. So it has expanded outward, you know, a lot. So I decided to take a look at the people that have Jupiter and Uranus somehow connected, not necessarily to the GC, but just making contacts in the chart, making some sort of aspect. Now, I didn't count the minor aspects. I was only looking at aspects like the conjunction, the trine, sextile, square, and conjunction, trine, sextile, square, opposition, and inconjunct. I got too ahead of myself there. Those were the only ones I was looking at for aspects between Jupiter and Uranus. And not only did I think this was important, because I do feel like obviously Jupiter plays a massive role with the GC because the GC is in Sagittarius, but I've also mentioned several times, I think Jupiter retrograde is incredibly aligned with the GC. I also feel like out of all of the other planets, Uranus is too. I mean, I think all of the outer planets are, but I think Uranus is the most tied with it. So I wanted to see how many people had aspects between Jupiter and Uranus in their chart. Also, from an esoteric astrology perspective, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, but its esoteric ruler is Jupiter. So they tie together there too. And as you saw in the last video, we're talking about X-rays and shit. I do feel like bringing some esoteric astrology stuff into the mix is probably going to happen. It wasn't originally the way I was going to go with this, but I'm thinking that it will probably go that way just a little bit, at least a little bit more than it has. So I wanted to look and see how many people had connections between Jupiter and Uranus, and I came back at 61% have something, a conjunction, trine, sextile, square, opposition, or inconjunct, along with having something conjunct the GC. I came back with 39% of people not having any of those aspects. But I will say this, a lot of these people that fell under the no category actually did have something. It just wasn't one of those major aspects that I work with the most in practice. I did notice that there were several other minor aspects, though, that people did seem to have. Not all of the no's, but I did take notice of at least, I don't know, maybe at least 10 people seem to have something that wasn't one of the major aspects that I work with. So in time, those will probably need to be included too. That's just a lot more to take on. So in time, we'll probably go, we'll probably go that way. But right now, we'll just work with the major ones. But I will say, I think if I had added in other aspects, the percentage of no's would have been less. And the percentage of yeses would have been higher. I also want to look at next, I want to look at contacts, and I haven't had time. I've been really busy. I've been really busy. So I haven't had time to look at this, but I want to look at contacts at Saturn, like Saturn to Jupiter contacts, Saturn to Uranus contacts. I want to look at these two. Even Saturn to GC contacts, though, I don't know how much. I mean, I think it might be important, but I don't think it matters so much. I think the contacts between these different planets might matter more if you've got like a conjunction. You kind of get what I'm saying. But I do want to look and see Saturn aspects between like Saturn and Uranus, or Saturn aspects with Jupiter or whatever. How many people that have conjunctions to the GCs have these too? Because I do think that Saturn functioning kind of like a gatekeeper here and being involved with the GC, not directly, but being able to work through like Saturn's limitations and boundaries and those kinds of things, and mastering Saturn, if you will, kind of help one to access the GC better. Maybe it might. I could see that being the case. I'm not 100%, but I could see that being the case. Or something along those lines. I might decide that I want to word that a little differently, but I do think that there is something there with it. I really do. I really, really do. Another one I might look at is, obviously I'd like to throw Chiron in the mix too, and even look at like Saturn and Chiron, Uranus and Chiron. You know, I'd like to look at some of these other things together, but I did want to look at Uranus and Jupiter first. But yeah, I think that's probably pretty good for now. I'm gonna get going, but because I can't make these too long anymore for some reason. I know if you're watching this on YouTube, it doesn't matter, but on Instagram, they've started doing this thing where I don't know why I used to be able to post like 25-minute videos, and now they're acting like I can only post 15-minute videos, and that's it. So I'm trying to make these a little shorter. Close that. Anyway. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I'm at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Apaterno Astrology on Instagram. If you want to like or subscribe or whatever the fuck people do with videos on YouTube, you can find us by searching for Let's Fuck With Astrology in the YouTube search bar. If you do the Reddit thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.